So, welcome. I'm Pam Gallagher. Today is May 24th, 2020, and here are our current transits for the day. The word transit is current time. It's where the planets are in the heavens today, May 24th, 2020. Now, no matter where you are in the world, the sun today is at 4 Gemini, and the moon is in Gemini. We just had a new moon uh, 2 days ago. I had to think what today was. The new moons happen every month. They happen every 27 and a half days to be accurate. And then we have a full moon 2 weeks later. So every month we have a new moon and a full moon. So that is not, and from ancient times, they have used that as their clock, the new moons and the full moons. And so from new to full is called waxing, and from full back to new is called waning. So the moon and the sun 2 days ago were together, and now the moon, which moves 12 times as fast as the sun, so the moon's already at 27 Gemini. But we are beyond the new moon, but we're still in a new moon phase. So the new moon phase is new energy, new starts, new beginnings. So I'm delighted to say between new and full moon is a growth period and full moons are more emotional, where new moons are about growth. So we are still in this new moon growth, beginning new, a great time to go plant. You know, if you like to plant, this is it. This is a great time to go and plant your garden, plant your herbs, whatever it is you're doing. So new to full, you want to plant them in a waxing moon so they'll grow. Now we're going to talk about the other lunations. What's coming up. So today we'll talk a little bit more about the new moon. What I wanted you to know is if you were planting, if you're doing anything, this is a growth time. Hey, Kim, how are you? We were just debating, well, I was debating, I was talking about whether we needed to do this. Obviously, people still feel the need or want the connection. So I thought Mindy will send it out, but I thought that June 21st, which is Father's Day, but we leave for Florida that next week. So I thought June 21st, a month from now, we'll do one, and it's right at the next new moon. So in fact, it's June 21st is on the solar eclipse, which we're going to talk about, which is a big deal. So, but we'll do it at 8 o'clock at night because it's a Father's Day. So if you want to put it on your calendar, June 21, 8 p.m., because we want everybody to have their dinner. We won't, even California, we won't break your dinner. But we won't break your Sunday. Because as of today, which I had told you, I thought that by the end of May, even earlier, that things would begin to open up, because 2 weeks ago, we had, hey, Annabelle, we had 2 weeks ago, we were all the planets were in what you call forward motion, direct motion is the language. And so everything was really moving. Now, when all the planets are direct, what that means is they're at their higher speed, and they're all like a racetrack, they're all tracking together, they're all going together. And then when they get farther from the sun and they start to round their orbit bend in an arc, that's when they get opposite farther from the sun, and that's when they go retrograde. Retrograde is apparent backward motion. Planets don't go backward, okay? Just so you know, planets do not go backward. So first Pluto went retrograde a couple weeks ago, and then Saturn went retrograde, and then Jupiter, and then along came Venus, and it went retrograde. Now, Mercury will, Mindy, tell him I'm on. Mercury will go retrograde the end of June. We'll look at that. But the so at the end of June we will have 5 planets retrograde. Now, when energy retrogrades or slows down, it's a less aggressive pushing forward time. And so, sure enough, all of a sudden in the last week and a half, everybody started to back off. They're not pushing as hard. They're not stressing as hard. And so we are in a relaxed model. Now, what I'm going to say about that and what I think is what you're asking for is my opinion on this. But I've been at it 50 years, so I'm probably as qualified to speak on it as anybody. I don't know. We're going to talk about, so we're at a new moon today. Now, 2 weeks later, we always have a full moon. But the next full moon on June 5th is an eclipse. But it's a partial eclipse. It's a lunar eclipse, full moon lunar eclipse. Okay. Which means that the moon and sun are opposite one another. But they're in Gemini Sagittarius, which is, of course, those are mutable signs. That in itself is less daunting, less demanding, less pushy. Gemini Sagittarius, there are 4 elements in astrology: fire, earth, air, and water. And then you have one cardinal, one fixed, and one mutable sign in each element. This is mutable or flexible. And so this full moon eclipse is mellow. It's more mellow in its energy. So it's a 15 Gemini Sag if you happen to have anything in those degrees of Gemini, Virgo, Sag, Pisces, then you know. But I will tell you that this full moon eclipse in Gemini Sag does square Mars, and Mars tends to be aggressive. So even though we're going to have over this month 5 planets retrograde, we'll have 4 at that time. 4 planets retrograde, it's still squaring Mars, which makes for a bit of an edge. Mars is the warrior. And so we're still seeing some fighting, some marching on capitals, some anger, because Mars can be frustration and Mars can be anger. So through the next 2 weeks, I expect us to see still more Mars warrior fighting, aggressive, angry, frustrated energy. Try not to feed into that, please. Try not to be the Mars person. The good news about that, even though Mars is at 15 and the angles are at 15, Mars is in Pisces, and Mars is a fire energy and Pisces is water. So we've got, which will soften it. So it will soften the whole gig. However, there's some indirect energy here because all this stuff is retrograde. So it's going on, but it's going on under the cover. So it's going on underneath. However, it is slowing down the fighting. So I think that people are ready to go out, and I think they're ready to do. And I just hope that we're wise. I just hope. I mean, I went to the market today, and we bought lots of fruits and vegetables, and we wore masks. We were good. We got in, we got our stuff, and got out, but we went. I've been going to the office, but then it's my office, so I can do that. So I have somewhere to go, but there are people that haven't been out. And so I think it's time to go. I think it's time to, because the energy has backed off. And so I think that wisely, I think that it's okay to go and to run some errands and do some things. If you just do it sensibly. What you want to avoid is not being one of the Mars people, not one of the angry people, not one of the, and because with a full moon eclipse, which is emotional, squaring Mars in Pisces, sensitive, people will be more sensitive. Over the next 2 weeks, just take a note, they're going to be more reactive, emotionally hurt, so forth. So, it is what it is. But when we know, you see, I'm an avid believer that knowledge is power. And so the more we know, I believe that the better we can do. So the full moon eclipse is in 2 weeks, is June 5th. So we're buzzing right along, and everything is going to really stay retrograde pretty much until September. So, but here's my opinion on this deal. So this full moon is in 2 weeks. It squares Mars. it's going to peak some of the agitation and the heat and the aggravation. And for those of you who know astrology, you'll get it, and the others of you will be like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but all right. Right now, Mercury and Venus are both what you call out of bounds or out of their normal distance from the equator, north or south. So they are both, quote, out of bounds. Mercury being out of bounds, and still is, it is now, and will be on this eclipse. People are going to be mouthy. So your tendency is to speak out, Mercury, say, and then think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So be conscious. Say, wow, Mercury, the planet of communication, is like out of its normal bounds. So watch your mouth. And if somebody else gets mouthy, just say, you know what, this will pass. Just let it ride, because the planets are retrograde, and it's like, let's just give it a minute. Give it a minute. Now, when I think we're going to begin to see a shift and know where we stand is on the solar eclipse of June 21. Now, on the east coast of Cincinnati, it's at 2 in the morning on June 21st. So, and for those of you on the west coast, it will be on the 20th in the evening. Now, if you're over in London, it would be later in the morning, like sunrise. So what I'm proposing for us is that anyone that's interested, we will have a session on Sunday, June 21. We're going to do it at 8 o'clock Eastern time. It's Father's Day, and dinners will be over. So for those of you that are interested in tuning in, we'll talk about the summer, and we'll know. We'll know by then, because a solar eclipse is when the moon and sun come together. Remember that lunar or full moon was when they're opposite, and then we have the new moon. But there's a new moon, and then twice a year we get solar eclipses, or we get eclipse seasons. And normally they come just in twos, but because the two lunar eclipses on June 5th and July 5th are very partial, we're catching an eclipse shadow on the front end and the back end, with a total eclipse smashed in the middle. So this eclipse is only 1 degree off the nodes, which makes it very total. However, the good news is for us, it is not visible. Here's the horizon of Earth, and that this new moon for the whole United States is, and even England, is below the horizon. However, when you get from, India all the way to China, it will be visible. The sun and moon, this eclipse will be above the horizon, and they will get a shadow. Now, between Tibet and China is where it will, quote, culminate, which means to be where you get the greatest shadow precision. And it will be there at noon or 2 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever time zone they're in, but the sun and moon will be above the horizon for them. However, from the world, remember, this chart is for the whole world. And so you're like, well, it's not, we're like, oh, it's just for us in the United States. No, it's for the whole world. So the whole world is having a solar eclipse, new moon, and it's at 0 degrees Cancer. Now, I think I talked the last time we talked, but there's a world axis at 0 Cancer Capricorn. The longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere is June 21, the summer solstice. And of course, if you're down in Australia, it's the winter solstice, 0 Capricorn. It's their summer solstice. It's their winter solstice, excuse me, because it's Cancer. So it depends on which hemisphere you're in, but most of us are in the Northern Hemisphere. This is our summer solstice. It's the longest day of the year where the sun is above the horizon the longest, which makes it that 0 Cancer Capricorn is a very critical axis, and that's where this eclipse hits. So why do we care? It's always a good question. Why do we, what are we doing? A solar eclipse brings new energy. And if we go back 3,000 years, they tracked the solar eclipses. And there were major political changes. There were, they decided their wars and their and their inaugurations and everything else according to the eclipses, because they were considered, but were considered to be a time of catastrophe, and that's because it appears that the moon has swallowed the sun, and we have no light. There's no light on a solar eclipse. If you're above and you can see it, that's where it's supposed to be the most intense. So what we can say from an assumption standpoint, and in our Thursday night class, we have a practical class where people that have studied can come to, and we do astrology, we talk astrology. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights are class nights for Midwest School of Astrology, but Thursday night is a practical night. And so we were talking about the eclipse, and so perhaps I will show you this. Let me show you the eclipse map, so that I think a picture is worth 1,000 words, and let's look at it. So here is Western. Here's the eclipse, solar eclipse. They only show the solar eclipse maps, and let me, 2020, June. Let me pull this down so you can see it. Well, I tried, that's it. Don't want to let me do it. So I lost my date. Okay. These are the eclipses for every year for 2,000 years. Just thinking about that. So here's the one. This is for June 21st, 2020 that we're approaching. Keep in mind that an eclipse is in effect minimum of 3 months in, 3 months out, which means, and really with solar eclipses, from world perspective, they say 6 months in, 6 months out, that this area will be highly impacted. So guess where it's visible? Starting in Africa, coming across and through India and over through Tibet and China. So this whole area is what has, and we have to, I think everybody has to agree that China's been pretty badly hit. Now, Duffy's online, a friend of mine, but also a student, and informed me that there are huge swarms of locusts in Africa, in the southern half of Africa, and they are like destroying everything. Well, guess what? That's where this eclipse is already triggering. So you can watch the news through this period of time. It's not a good thing, but it's just a factual thing. So there's the visual of where that eclipse. There's Miss Jerry. Hello, Miss Jerry. So that's the solar eclipse map. And as we watch the news, what we want to do is learn to observe the world, stand back, not get sucked into the emotion of it so much, and say, wow, this is the universe at work, and here's our solar system, and this is what's going on. So we have eclipses twice a year, that's true, but they are not always total eclipses and only 1 degree off the node, which makes them really intense. So this solar eclipse coming, and we're seeing it. We're already seeing it. Everything is building. But my point to this is, between now and the end of June, 1 month from now, we are still in a peak period. We'll know, and like I said, we're gonna do another session here on June 21 and talk about what we know then. We'll see what happens. But so the point is, today is May 22nd, 24th. Today's the 24th, isn't it? And by June 21, a month from now, we're going to know. But in the meantime, things are retrograde. Keep in mind, things are retrograde. That doesn't mean these planets have gone away. It means that they are less visible. They're still there. So there's a lot of undercover stuff. It's a lot kind of laying low. So what I'm going to say is I think between now and June 21, we're going to know how much the resurgence will be, how bad it'll be. I'm not advocating that everybody stay home and hide under the covers for another month. I'm just saying use good sense, use good guidance. But it's going to be here for a long time. So, but we've had polio, we had tuberculosis, we had um, my grandmother lived during the Spanish flu in 1918 and almost died, and had four little girls that she was trying to take care of. Um, she didn't die, but a lot of people did. So, um, you know, if, be cautious, be healthy, eat your vitamins. Eat fresh, good food if you can. Most of us are in a position, I think, to at least eat fresh and healthy and use reason. But you can't quit living. I hate for people to live under fear. I really do, because um, fear attracts negativity, quite frankly. So try not to go into a fear panic. I mean, try to be reasonable, try to be conservative, try to make sense, but don't go into, because your immune system will get so um, shut down, it won't have any. So, after 2 months, it's like get out and get a few germs, even if it's out of the dirt. So, so today we have this new moon, and we're grateful for it. So, speaking of the dirt, like I said, get out, plant. Between new and fall is the time. If you want things to grow above ground, it's probably not the time to plant your carrots and your potatoes, which you want to grow underground. And you usually do that under a waning moon, because they go down, they go into the darkness, which is what you want them to do. So you have to think about, what is it I'm planting? Am I planting love the line? Am I planting blue? Are you starting something new? Is it time to get out? Um, I can tell you that Saturn, the planet of rules and regulations and laws and restrictions, has gone retrograde and stays retrograde until the end of September. So I doubt that they're going back into any lockdown, stay at home mode. I'll be very surprised with Saturn. If we got to the fall and things were raging and Saturn went direct, then they might try to reinforce or enforce some rules again. But only then would it be if it was really necessary and catastrophic. So, so that's what I know for the moment. When the moon, which is today, is in Gemini, it's a chatty time. So for the next 6 hours anyway, and it's Sunday, call somebody. And then the moon will go into Cancer. So, call your family, talk to people. Gemini is to communicate. And so it's like reach out, quit, even if it's on the phone, if it's through Zoom, if it's through your iPad. I mean, I don't care. Call somebody. It's Gemini. Call, talk, communicate. Let's get back into the rhythm of people and groups and cycles. And so let's make an effort to reach out to some other people on this new moon, and it's in Gemini, so Gemini talk. It's an air sign. It's like, let's be social. So whatever that means to you, that's certainly being outdoors. So that's the new moon. Now, in a couple of days, the moon will go into Cancer, and that's water, but it's still home. So tomorrow is probably still a stay-at-home time. Everybody's instinct is kind of to stay at home. But as we move forward a few days, and we'll get into, here's a day, let's move it forward. We're going into Gemini tomorrow, or Cancer, excuse me. We're going to Cancer, home, family. And then when we get to the 27th, the moon goes into Leo. By next weekend, people are going to Leo, want to go out and be a little more social and be a little more engaged. Mercury and Venus will still be out of bounds. So this, with Venus out of bounds, Venus is very social. And then there are those who feel rebellious that are really out. They can't wait to get out, and they're going. And I don't see anything wrong with going, as long as you do it responsibly. We have a good friend. He's in construction. He's been working. He's working outdoors. He's worked every day. He's supporting his family. He's been wearing his mask. He had a coworker who refused to wear a mask, didn't need it, macho, and they came around and tested him because they're working on a site, a company site that demanded everybody be tested, and the guy tested positive for COVID. Now, what happens is our friend is now quarantined at home. He's losing 2 weeks of work. He didn't test positive, but so here he can't go out. He can't go to work. He can't go out and work on. He can't even go work on his camper that he loves. So be be considerate. Remember, this mask is not just for us. It's for the people who knows if we're asymptomatic and carrying it. I don't know. Let's just, if we can get through and get to July, we're going to know much better where we are. So just be conservative. Use good choices. Um, okay, it's almost 2:30. Does anybody have any questions today that they want to ask me about the next month? I'm open. I'm waiting. Anybody want to type? Okay, Bruce and Kathy are going to type. Good. Start to say you must have. Somebody must have a question that they've been wanting to ask, and you got me. So while you got me, ask me. I may not have the answer, but like I said, I'm probably your best shot. So let's see. What else can I tell you? Chiron's in Aries, but it's going to stay there. See, all these things. Moon in Cancer, 25 to 27. What to look for during that time? People are more emotional. Their urges to want to stay home. The moon rules Cancer, and so people tend to be more emotional, more reactive, particularly those for you who are water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. If you've got a lot of water in your chart, when the moon goes through its own water sign, people tend to get more emotional, more reactive, more tense. So now everybody is, everybody feels the moon in Cancer, but they don't all react to it the same way. The water signs are much more reactive. So, and right now I'm looking, and even today we have no fire planets in the chart. There's no fire. That's good as far as aggression and anger go. So they really are backing off and calming down. And that's wonderful because we need that, because the full moon eclipse on the 5th with squaring Mars will trigger anybody who's been hostile. You're going to see it. We're all chilling. That's good. Well, and those of you who have a lot of Cancer are the ones that are going to feel the moon for the next couple of days. So it'll go from Gemini to Cancer, emotion and feeling. There's Karen Taylor. And the moon and Leo. And the Leo is fun. And then it goes to Virgo and says, okay, we're going to go to work. So we're coming into a more social time as far as the planets go. When the moon was in Aries, Taurus, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, it's much more stay-at-home time. The moon's cleared that now and won't be back there for a little while. Karen Taylor's typing. See what she's got to say. This new moon opposed my sun, and I've been feeling very drained. How long will that effect last, typically? So here's the new moon. We'll go back to it. And so this new moon opposed her sun. Well, an opposition tends to throw you out of balance. So those of you who are Sagittarians and in the early degrees of Sagittarius, meaning from November, probably 21st to the 25th, particularly. She's at 4 degrees. So what's your birthday, Karen? It's probably November 26th or something. I don't know. 26th. People are like, how'd you do that? I'm like, the sun moves a degree a day, changes on the 20th or the 21st, not rocket science. But I just get tickled. So yes, how long will it last? A week. it's going to throw you out of balance. A new moon, however, it's going to bring new opportunities. So what you want to look for, if you have a new moon opposing you, like if you are a Sag and you're like, wow, this new moon's opposing me, new things are coming to me. I need to be paying attention. I need to see what the universe is going to offer me. What's the universe going to offer me if I'm a Sag? If you're a Virgo Pisces, then you're squared. The energy is squaring you, and you may feel challenged for a few days. So about a week, the new moon is going to hit you, but you have to look up. If it's something's coming at you, you have to say, wow, the universe is going to bring me a message. What is it? So if you're in Gemini, this is your month, kids. If you're a Gemini, that then it's like, wow, I've got new energy pouring in through my sign, and I need to get up and get moving and use it. It's like somebody giving you a battery pack or charging your phone for you. That didn't used to be a term, but it is today. So, so anybody got any other questions you've been wanting to ask? This is your time. Duffy says, a lot of us of a certain age have Uranus around 15 Gemini, which is the lunar eclipse. Any thoughts on that for us baby boomers? Yeah, on June 5th, it's at 15 Gemini Sagittarius, sure is. And all you people who are early 70s, if you're in your 70s, this lunar eclipse will hit Uranus. Energy more unstable, restless. And so if you're feeling restless and erratic, that's what Uranus does. Now remember, every planet has low, medium, and high energy. So Uranus at its lowest is rebellious, unstable, restless. Ah, Elaine says, okay, I'm contemplating a job move. And you're in the sign of Cancer. Okay. Back to this Gemini Sag full moon. If Uranus is the planet on the low end of instability, restlessness, and rebelliousness, in the middle end, it's progressive. Like, I want to be progressive. If it's the high end and it's hitting your Uranus, it says, you know what? Do new things, break loose, investigate, do something new. So that for those in their early 70s who this lunar eclipse is hitting Uranus, recognize that it's going to push you to change. Okay? Now, you can choose whether that's a low vibration change or a high vibration change. So try to be, try to use this energy wisely. Good, Susan. They're on their way to Woodson Bend for a little holiday. Yay for them. That which is Cumberland Lake in Ohio, for those of you who are somewhere else. Elaine says, Pam, I'm contemplating a job move. My sign is Cancer. Well, Elaine, so Kim says, Duffy, it looks to me like time to heal one-on-one relationships with heartfelt communications. Well, I don't know about one-on-one, but Uranus is change, and it could be. It is Gemini Sag. It's new. It says do something different. So whatever that, look around you and say, what does that relate to? But the Cancer question of the solar eclipse in Cancer is after the 21st of June, Elaine, when you're that whole month, you're coming into a time with the solar eclipse in Cancer of a lot of energy to move forward, because solar eclipses move you forward, do new, plan new. So with Kim, when you're looking, you can't read that chart quite, frankly, for DC, because it's not where she is. So I understand, but remember, the houses you can't just read. We can look at the lunation with Mercury, but I mean, we don't know where it's sitting in that chart. So the solar eclipse for you, Elaine, is during this time period. Yes, the end of June, July, there'll be a lot of energy for you, for Cancers, to move forward. and do something, And if you want to do something new, this is the time. So Elaine, I would say, you know what, go for it. Go for the new. But I'd wait until after June 21 because I'd wait till after the eclipse because so many planets are retrograde and it does tend to slow them down. Even Mercury's retrograde. So maybe I would even tell you, looking at this a little deeper, if I went, let me go a month forward, see when Mercury's direct. Mercury will be direct by then. See, if you wait to mid-July, you will have Venus direct and Mercury direct, and Mercury will be in Cancer, and you'll still be in that solar eclipse time. So that's when I'd push forward, but I'd wait. Sometimes it's better not to make new moves under planetary retrograde. People don't like to buy electronics under Mercury retrograde. I'm not sure I agree with that because the electronics were made a long time before that. People don't like to start dating somebody new or go look for a new partner when Venus is retrograde because it slows down. Your tendency is to go. Retrograde means apparent backward motion, and the best language you can use is go back, double back, and redo, revisit, rethink. So we've got a lot of stuff. Now, see, by the time we get to July, even Mercury and Venus have gone, direct again. So at the eclipse, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets retrograde on the eclipse. But it is a solar eclipse, but that can create a lot of new turmoil. The good news is Mars is in a square, but it's a bit of a wide square. So from 0 Cancer to 0 Aries. So it's kind of moved on. It's a separating square. So hopefully it won't be so traumatic. I expect that a lot of this anger and agitation to have calmed down by June 21. That's what I'm looking for. Yes, Catherine. Been thinking about opening up to dating, so best to wait a little while. I'd wait till mid-July. I'd wait until Venus goes direct and Mercury's direct, and we can move this forward a week at a time and see when they all change. Let's do that before we say goodbye here. Let's go. Venus has already gone direct by June 28th. I'd wait till after July 4th. Venus is direct. These are all not going direct retrograde. Well, we do have another eclipse in July. It's at 13 Capricorn, but it's 14 degrees out. It's in Capricorn, which is the very last partial eclipse that we have in the Cancer Capricorn, and it's very weak. It's almost more like a full moon than a lunar eclipse because it's 14.5 degrees from the nodes. So yeah, for those of you who are thinking about dating, opening up yourself, if you'll just give yourself till after the 4th of July and wait for these planets to begin to move out and that square to Mars to pass, it's nicer to start a new relationship under Venus direct, Catherine, if I were you. So yeah, we do have another eclipse in July, and I will talk about that eclipse, the July 5th eclipse lunar. I'll talk about that on June 21 when we get together, but we'll know more. The one that I am expecting the biggest shift around is this solar eclipse. And so I'm figuring if we can get to there, we're going to have a much better idea of where we stand for the rest of the summer and what's a good idea and what's not. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be going out now. I'm just saying be cautious, be wise, because there's a lot of emotional aggression that's coming up because of the full moon square Mars. So just the way it is, be Be conscious of that, make better choices because of it, be conservative. And then on June 21, we'll say, you know what, I think that the storm has passed. We may be seeing, I hope that's what we see. I hope that's what we see. You know, the universe does not conceive everything. And so these energies are there, but it depends on how people react and how responsible they are. Okay, so I think we've done it unless somebody has a burning question that you want to ask me. Going once, going twice. Um, okay, great. I'm going to